Hey everyone, I'm Mike from theparkprodigy.com, and on today's video we're going to break down the complete guide to the Walt Disney World virtual queue system. Now, this video is not a coincidence that it's coming out at this point in time, as this is extremely popular with the brand new release of Tron Lightcycle Run over at Magic Kingdom Park, right? So if you are trying to get onto this ride, if you're trying to get onto Guardians of the Galaxy, you're going to want to be familiar with how the virtual queue system works at Disney World, and that's why we created this video. So if you are in the process of planning a Disney World vacation, just be sure to stick around to the end to make sure you are as prepared as possible. I'm really excited for this video, so let's go get started. Thank you all again so much for checking out this video. Like I said, we are about to break down the complete guide to the virtual queue system over at Walt Disney World. And of course, Disney World is home to a variety of incredible attractions that draw crowds from all over the world, but that could potentially cause hour-long wait times, to get onto some of the most popular rides. So to help alleviate that pain and to give guests more time in the parks, Disney has created the virtual queue system, which is a digital way for you to essentially save your spot in line. If you've been watching our channel, I call this the quote unquote, take a ticket. It's like the old school bakery, right? Take a ticket. When your number is called, you get to go and get onto the line. And of course, while it sounds simple, there are some really important tips and tricks that you do need to be aware of, specifically on the My Disney Experience app, to make sure that you can navigate this virtual queue system. And that's essentially what we're about to break down. So at this point in time, the rides that are offered through the virtual queue can and do change. So depending on, what time of year or when you're traveling to Walt Disney World, it's important to keep an eye on that. However, at this point in time, there are two rides. So there's Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, which is over at Epcot, and the newest attraction is Tron Lightcycle Run over at Magic Kingdom. And just like it sounds, both of these rides are extremely popular. They've both pretty much opened up within the last year. And, again, we do see them kind of staying on the virtual queue for the time being, at least for now. Okay, so we're going to jump right in, and essentially, how do you use the virtual queue at Walt Disney World? So, unfortunately, if you're not an app person, you're going to need to become an app person, and this is going to be something that you can't really get around, unfortunately, right? So, everything for the virtual queue is run within the My Disney Experience app, and of course, for that, you'll want to make sure that you have a My Disney Experience account, and that you have each person in your party linked, and specifically linked to your account. Let's say you're traveling with a couple different people who have a couple different My Disney Experience accounts. You all need to be linked within one for at least one person to manage it. Now, when you open up the My Disney Experience app, you will find the virtual queue tabs where you can examine virtual queue times and where the magic happens the morning of your trip. When we say the magic, where you essentially grab your virtual queue. So really the first step, and again, what we would say is make sure that everyone in your party is in your My Disney Experience account, and make sure that everyone is linked. That is really the first step that you need to make sure in order to kind of make those reservations. And the second step, and again, this is a really, really important one that it seems basic, but you do need it. You need a theme park ticket or an annual pass essentially linked to your My Disney Experience account. And when we're talking about the virtual queues, you need to make sure that you have a park reservation at that park for that day. So you need to be planning to start your day, or at least have your park reservation at that park. And what that means is, let's say you're trying to get a virtual queue for Tron Lightcycle Run, you need to have a park reservation for Magic Kingdom, or you won't even be able to try to get a virtual queue. Same thing for Guardians of the Galaxy over at Epcot. So those are the first couple steps right there. Okay, then the next step actually has to do with trying to actually grab that virtual queue, right? The way that it works is the virtual queues are essentially released twice throughout the day. So as of this point in time, they're released at 7 a.m. and then also at 1 p.m. But we would say what you want to do is you want to be trying to get that virtual queue at 7 a.m. because there's no guarantee that we'll have the 1 p.m. Most of the time, yes, Disney's been really good at getting people onto the rides, but that's essentially how it works. So it's the day of is when the virtual queues are going to be released. And again, the first batch is going to be released at 7 a.m. So what we typically will recommend is, of course, you have to go onto the My Disney Experience app, you have to click into the virtual queue section, and you'll see the two rides. So if you're trying to grab Guardians of the Galaxy, you'll click on Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, the virtual queues are going to be released at 7 a.m. So what I typically will do is like 15 minutes before, I'll jump on, and again, I'll double check. And you should already have this set up, but I'll double check and make sure everyone I'm trying to make a virtual queue reservation for is linked to my account, and I have them, as my kind of friends. And you can even pull them in, before 7 a.m. So you can go onto the app and you could say, okay, I'm going to make virtual queue reservations for myself, for, this person, this person, this person, you can click on them so that they're already prepared to kind of get pulled in. And then at like 6:58, what I'll start to do is I'll start to just swipe down and kind of refresh my screen. And I literally will refresh my screen for 2 minutes straight. And just because what's going to happen is if you continue refreshing, what will happen is at 7 a.m. when the virtual queues are kind of released, you're already in the process of refreshing. And then at that point, you'll see it will say join virtual queue. And you can then click and just very simply click on join virtual queue and grab it. And so in a nutshell, that is essentially how the virtual queue system works at Walt Disney World. Now, hopefully if you follow these steps, you'll be able to grab the 7 a.m. boarding groups. And then at that point, you know that you're going to get on this ride for the day. Now, of course, things can happen. The ride might go down. And it shouldn't say you're guaranteed to get on the ride, but at least you have your spot in line. And then essentially what will happen at that point is once your group is called, you'll get a notification. So it's very, very important to make sure that the notifications are set up on your My Disney Experience app to kind of notify you, and to keep an eye on it throughout the day. If you know that you're a group 50, keep an eye on it, because once you see groups 50 to 60 called, you can then go and get online for that ride. So that's essentially how it works. The other really, really cool thing is that if you do have, let's say, extra magic hours, if you're staying at a Disney Deluxe resort, then Disney might drop another set of virtual queues at 6 p.m. So make sure you keep an eye on that, depending on which parks have the extra magic hours going on that night. But that's just something to keep an eye on. And then also, this is another common question that we receive is how long do you have to return to your Disney virtual queue? So Disney World guests have 1 hour to return to the standby line after their Disney virtual queue is called. And I will say this is by far one of the, I understand what Disney's trying to do. They're trying to give us a better experience, right? Lower wait times. But I think this is by far one of the biggest cons of the virtual queue system is, in my mind, you don't know when your group is going to be called. And if you've been watching our videos at the Park Prodigy, you already know that I tell everyone, have a game plan, know which ride you want to go on. We help all of our clients come up with itineraries essentially, and we're telling you like, hey, go on this ride at this time, go eat here at this time, and we're pretty much planning your entire day. The virtual queue system, it kind of disrupts all of that because you don't know when you're going to get called. And also from a park hopping standpoint, you can't park hop. How do you park hop over to Hollywood Studios if you can get called at essentially any time and you have to be over back at the ride? So there are some cons to the virtual queue system. Looking at my notes, we're actually going to jump into the pros and cons very quickly. So now back over to the pros, and we would say, of course, the first pro to the virtual queue system is that families don't have to wait 3 to 4 hours, on long lines for some of the newest rides in the park anymore. We will say that this has eliminated it, and the 2023 virtual queue system, essentially for Guardians of the Galaxy, has pretty much brought the wait time to get onto this ride once your group has been called down to around 30 to 40 minutes, and that's very, very feasible, and we would say a very, very good guest experience. Second is that it's a free feature, right? So this isn't like the Disney Genie Plus, which is an add-on option now, when the costs have gone up to $35 per person per day, depending on the time you're visiting. But this is a free feature that guests get to take advantage of. And of course, the cons, we've already discussed one of them, but we would also say that, again, some of the biggest cons is that you need to have a park reservation, for that park. It takes away the flexibility to park hop, right? And especially when you're upgrading to a park hopper ticket and you're spending the money to park hop, well, now 2 of the parks essentially have limitations if you're trying to go on all of the rides. So we just think that is a con. And then of course, on the flip side, there's only a couple times throughout the day, really 2 times throughout the day that you can grab a virtual queue. Also, it's the same thing with the Disney Genie. I don't know what Disney's thinking, having families, you have to do this every single morning. Like at 7 a.m., which is crazy too. Families with young kids, you're up, you're trying to get the kids ready, you're trying to get everyone, dressed, you're trying to get everyone breakfast. And then on top of it, go ahead, you have to make a virtual queue and make your Disney Genie Plus selections at 7 a.m. It's bananas in my mind. However, this is the system we have. I don't necessarily agree with it, but yeah, that's another one of the cons. Okay, so now some of the best tips and tricks for using the Disney World virtual queue. And we would say, be sure to keep in mind that it's not possible to get more than 1 virtual queue for the same ride within a single day. However, on the flip side, it is possible to enjoy a virtual queue and then also take advantage of an individual lightning lane. So you can get onto you can take advantage of the system and get onto the same ride twice, but you have to do it 2 different ways. 1 through the virtual queue system, 1 through the individual lightning lane, which is a premium add-on product. Second, like we said, do not refresh the My Disney Experience app exactly when the virtual queue passes are released. I would make sure that everything is set up 15 minutes before, and then like I said, at 6:58, I'm pretty much just refreshing, and I've had really good experience. I don't think I've never gotten a virtual queue by doing it this way. Next, we've covered this already, but again, just really important. Double check and be 100% sure that everyone in your party is linked to your My Disney Experience account. Do that before you even get down to Orlando and Walt Disney World. If you're having trouble, my opinion would be just call Disney's tech support team. They're really good. Make sure that you have the emails of everyone's like kind of My Disney Experience account, and they'll be able to help you get that stuff straightened out. Another really interesting one, and again, this is just something we've been doing from the beginning, going back to the Star Wars Rise of the Resistance days, and that would be use your cellular service if possible, right? And you want to make sure you have cellular service or Wi-Fi service. You need to be connected to the internet when grabbing a virtual pass. In our experience, though, especially if you're, let's say, trying to do those 1 p.m. queues inside the park, I would turn off your Wi-Fi just because everyone's kind of on the Wi-Fi trying to get the queue at the same time. I've had the best experiences just using my phone cellular service and being outside. I specifically plan to make sure I'm outside and not inside where I might, lose service, to make sure I get the virtual queues. And then last but not least, like we said, make sure you have your push notifications on, specifically on the My Disney Experience app, to make sure that you do get a notification when your boarding group is called, because like we said, you only have an hour to go and jump onto that line. Okay, and so that is it, everyone. That is exactly how you use the virtual queue system over at Walt Disney World. As of 2023 anyway. As if they do change it and if they add more rides, we will be sure to create another video just like this. And if you are in the process of planning a Disney World vacation and you do want more additional videos just like this, just be sure to subscribe to our channel, as we have a lot more similar videos coming out in the coming weeks. But I think that's all the time we have for today. Thank you all again so much for checking out this video, and until next time, I will talk to you soon.